All right. Hey everyone, welcome. Thank you for joining into our May Details University class on the art of event production with my special guests, Raffi Grosz and Carlos Muina. And I rarely say your last names, so hopefully I didn't butcher them too badly because I've known you guys long enough. And I probably should have them right by now. But welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here.
Yeah, we're on a first name basis.
I know.
We're good.
You could just
I,
say Raffi and Carlos. We're fine with that. Kind of a team.
well, I know, and I always kind of mix them up, and I never know who to say first or whatnot because I feel like you guys are kind of a duo, but it's always Raffi and Carlos, and I keep trying to get my team to make sure we always do that right? I'm so glad to have you guys on. You're pretty much the masterminds behind Team Petals and of Petal Productions down in Miami, Florida, and we're so excited to introduce you to our audience because there's no one to learn better about large scale events than you guys. So thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us. And you're right, we might be the masterminds behind it, but we're not the master workers behind it, meaning we have such a great team behind us that although it's the two of us in front of the camera, it'll be our whole team that really puts us where we are.
Yeah. And that's like in any business, you get it going and then you realize that you need an army of people to make it really run smoothly. And I have to say, when I visited your studio space, or I'm not sure if you call it a studio, your production facility, multiple times. And I have to say that I'm always blown away by just the massive amount of not only inventory and team, but the number of things going on at one time. So I appreciate you guys stepping away from the madness, especially on a busy Memorial Day weekend, to talk to us about all of this. So thank you again for doing this. But how did you guys get started in flowers? Like, why flowers and why the floral industry? I don't know if Raffi wants to start.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'll start. Really, I grew up in a home that always had flowers. My father always brought flowers home to the house for the weekends. When I moved to Florida, I thought it would be nice to continue that tradition. It became part of me. I loved having that color and those flowers in the house. So when I moved to Florida from New York, I sought out a importer and I made a connection and I started buying flowers. I did not expect to be doing this. I did it as a very selfish reason. I just wanted to have flowers in my home.
Yeah, I love it. And Carlos?
I wanted to go into the event industry, and I think initially I thought I would go into the catering side and be a chef, and I even applied to the CIA and went to school up there. And then in the end, cooking sucks, and so I was working for a very boutique company in New York City at the time that had everything in-house. So they had the catering in-house and they had the floral department. They did the design part and everything. And little by little, I moved around in that company and just realized I really liked being on the floral side much better. And so that's where I started learning everything from Susan Holland in New York City. Yeah.
That's awesome. So this is how many years has Petal Productions been in business, Raffi?
We are in the middle of our 30th year.
Wow.
So we've been doing it for a long time. Yeah. And I agree with Carlos. I've seen the food side of it. And although I like food, when you do food, you're judged with every bite. When you do flowers, it's that impression when you look, and that's memory stays with you the whole time. The food, you're as good as that last bite, whether you like your appetizer, your main course, but you don't like your dessert. You're like, oh, I didn't like it. So yeah, we much prefer the floral side than the food.
So why did you settle in Miami, and how did Petal Productions come to be? Because 30 years ago, if you didn't imagine you'd be doing it at this scale now, what was the initial intention behind the brand?
So the evolution was, like I said, I was interested in getting flowers into my own home. And I'd met an importer and he said, sure, you could buy a box of 250 flowers, roses, or whatever you wanted at a time. I said, great, I'll keep 50 for myself. I'll give 50 to my parents. And the
Mhm.
other 150, I'll sell to my friends and neighbors. And slowly the first couple of months, I literally put them in the toilet. I stuffed up the sink and put them in the sink. I didn't have vases to store them in, so I was keeping them all over the place. And then I was giving them to some neighbors until their boyfriends complained to me about giving their girlfriends flowers. They didn't think it was appropriate. And slowly I had a couple of people that were buying a dozen here, a dozen there. But one day one of the temples in town came to me and said, hey, let's do a fundraiser. You'll sell it for a couple of dollars and we'll sell it to them for a couple of more dollars and we'll deliver a dozen roses to each person's home for the weekend. And we did it every week. And we started with 10 houses and then 30 houses.
Mhm.
And we were delivering flowers to their house every weekend. And then one Thursday, one of the people we were delivering to said, hey, instead of a dozen roses, can you just send me an arrangement? And I'm
Mhm.
like, sure, I guess. So I looked online, I looked through some magazines. I found a picture of something that I liked and I said, wow, that'll look great. And I made the arrangement, delivered to them Friday. On Monday, they called me and said, we loved it so much. The reason we wanted an arrangement is because our daughter got engaged this past weekend. And we
Mhm.
loved that arrangement so much. We want those exact style arrangements for the wedding. Can you
That's
do the
awesome.
wedding? And I'm like, sure, why not? And I did that wedding. And then from that one, we got two and two got four. And we been going ever since. But you're 100% right. This is not what I expected to be doing, but
Yeah.
I'm super grateful to be doing it. The industry is beautiful. You're surrounded by beautiful things. So I'm super happy that fell into this.
Well, and I think that gratitude shows in everything that you guys do because you always do it with that extra little something special. And like that goes into like really caring about the art and the experience of your clients. So I really want to dig into that. Before we do that, though, can you tell me some of the biggest like problems that you encountered when you were first starting your business that maybe you wish someone would have told you, like to avoid that? Or
You
so
know,
this is the big lesson, the drop at the beginning for everyone listening.
um,
He hadn't hired me.
no,
That's a good thing.
I'm always a very positive and I look at the bright side of things. When I start a project, I never
Mm,
look at what could go wrong. I look at how things will go right and I
mm,
manifest them. So although it's a lot of work, it seems glamorous, but we are the company that does the work. We're not the planners kind of standing there saying, you do this, you do that. We're the ones that do the work. And it's physically
yeah,
taxing, it's mentally taxing, but the reward is incredible where you actually get to design something and then see it come to life. And the joy that it gives the people you brought it for is even more rewarding. But yeah, there
yeah.
are all the pitfalls of owning a business, meaning when we started, I started in a garage and then I built a little um, backyard, a little workspace, and then outgrew that. And I did everything. I bought the flowers, I cut the flowers, I processed them, I arranged them, I delivered them, I lit the candles, and then I came back at the end of the night and picked it all up. So that was really
We don't do that anymore.
a little bit. I still
I
pick
know,
up
I don't
flowers.
either anymore. Gosh.
I still drive trucks. I still light candles. Um, when you love what you do, you don't feel like work, and it is work. It is a job, and it's very taxing. But the joy that it brings has me keep coming back. So, but the
Yeah.
classic pitfalls are we're in Miami where people say the labor and the employees are hard to get. I've been very lucky. I've been able to surround
Mm,
myself with great, committed people that have the same vision and the same commitment to what we want to accomplish. And I'm lucky. I don't have, I remember the good things. I don't remember any of the pitfalls.
Yeah. So Carlos, when did you join Raffi and his madness of everything he had going on and the chaos of being busy and running a business in Miami? When did you join the
I've
roadshow?
been, I've been on board for 15 years, so halfway through, I came on board. And yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say about Rafi and myself is that even as big as we've gotten, I think we're both continuously always looking, not necessarily to be bigger, but always looking to be better, you know? And like offering value to our client is so important to Rafi, you know, like it's really so ingrained in him. I've learned that as well. Like um that as much as it is about what we are, however much we think it is about us, ultimately it is not. It is about our client and it is about us providing them with the best service and value we can. And that's, you know, it's important to him, you know. And so it's become really important to me and throughout this process. And it's been one of the biggest reasons that we've had the success and the growth that we've had.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it to me. BC is like before Carlos and in that transition. So how many, I imagine like you guys are doing what, over 600 events, I think, a year. And that is just, I can't even imagine the amount of people that you have doing that. So can we break down kind of like how big your team is and how many departments you now have in the company? Because I know, Rafi, when you first started, it was just you, but I'm sure you have many different areas of the business now. And
Although,
also, what do you look for that would make a good additional team member of
by the way,
team?
Carlos, if
Else?
anybody knows how many events we do a year,
Yeah.
it's Corrine.
It would be
Because you
you.
could just sit down and count our,
I mean, I'm in there
Yeah.
every night. I'm like looking and just saying, gosh, I love how busy they are. No, but yeah, I feel like of our customers, you are up there with probably one of the most massive schedules and also the highest dollar per event, I think, on the total. So that is, I think we all find it here pretty impressive. But break it down for us a little bit. Like, how
I
do you
think
keep that
that
ship sailing?
I'll tell you how I feel the company has grown, which is, and I still feel it today, which is when we hire somebody, or even myself, we take a look as if it's a startup business, which
Mm,
means each person does many things. And as the company grows, that person does more of less things.
mm,
So when I started, I drove the truck and I delivered. Well, at some point I couldn't drive the truck anymore, so I did the flower ordering.
mm,
Carlos used to make arrangements and he used to schedule the employees and he used to make the recipes and right. So as the company grows, we fill those spaces with somebody here to find a specific thing. So always used to believe even a girl that answered the phone should do a million things. But at some point, that person just has to answer the phone. Same thing when it
yeah.
comes to social media. We had somebody that, would do social media on the side, but as the company grew and the needs grew with it, you have to dedicate someone to do that as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I feel like that's exactly the way we're growing too, because it's like there's a lot going on, and now we've just kind of figured out like an org chart and like, okay, you're in charge of this and you're in charge of that. But it is kind of just a soup where you need a lot of people who know, a little bit of everything, and then the things they're really good at, you kind of steer them in that direction. So it's nice to hear that's the way you're doing it too. What's something that you really look for as a joining your team?
Well, I mean, I wanted to go back to that other question a little bit because I think that we're, just to give you a little structure somehow.
Yeah.
Um, I think that Rafi and I complement each other. And so Rafi handles what I call like the administrative and sales side of the office. So he does all the hiring of the salespeople and the admin people and everybody who's working in the non-production side of Petal. And then I handle and hire almost everyone on the production side. And so that's all the florists, the drivers, the floral production, floral processing team, the freelancers, and everybody that we need to actually produce the events. And then together we make everything work, you know? Ultimately, I tell my team all the time that we serve at the pleasure of the sales team, right? Like without the sales team, we can't function. Without us, the sales team can't function. And so it's just always trying to find that marriage of those two sides to work well together, you know? And so I know my hiring tends to do with someone that I think cares. I don't care if you're skilled or not skilled. And I tend not to hire what I call superstars, right? Like I don't hire somebody who comes in my office, says they're a superstar, or is like all about themselves, you know? Like I'm looking for a team player. We have about 100 employees, full-time employees here at Petal. We're doing, like you said, about 600 events a year. These teams we are spending more time together than we are with our families. This is Raffi talks about this all the time. So it's important that my team get along and know how to work together. And a strong team is going to produce so much better work than any strong individual, you know? So that's super important to me.
Yeah, I will build on that, which is for me, and Carlos alluded to it earlier, but to me, it's about a specific core value. And my intention of the company is to exceed expectations of our clients. But if we forget that we are in a service industry, we've lost. So for me, if you can bring somebody on with a core value of wanting to serve, I don't care how smart you are. I don't care about your experience. If you have it in you that wants to serve, whether it's bringing a glass of water, picking up a piece of garbage from the street, going to an event and helping the caterers deliver a bottle of water, that's who I'm looking for. I'm looking for people that want to work. I don't care about your past experience. And when you build a team like that, of people that take joy, at least I know I do, in serving, then it makes the people around you makes it better. So that's where I feel like I am always looking for people that like to serve.
Yeah. No divas is your rule, except for Carlos, right? No. No, I'm just kidding. So when I think about like if anybody's visited your offices, and I know you're kind of an open book, you have host people there all the time. I was so it was so lovely to go this past year with Next Gen, and we visited your office site, and you can see all the things that are going on and all the areas that you've used to like manage that space, but ideally, how big is your space now? And you've outgrown it, so you're growing into, I think, a new space is on the horizon. And are
Sure.
you?
Yeah, we started in my kitchen. So we went from kitchen to garage to little shed in the back to we're currently in a 22,000 square foot space. And we thought that would be our end. We wouldn't ever have to go to anywhere else. But what's happened over the last 3 or 4 years, we have been saying no to as many events as we've said yes to. Meaning we've done 600 events, we've been called for 1,200 events. And because we don't deal with the clients directly all the time, most of our business comes through planners. When you work for 30 years to build relationships with these planners, and then all of a sudden they call you up and say, hey, I have an event February 15th. And you're like, oh, sorry, we're booked. Now you're compromising all that work that went into building that relationship. So the first year, second year, I'm like, no, things will come slow back down. But after 3 or 4 years of saying no to that many people, we felt either we would shrink because we would lose some of those connections, or we needed to grow with the demand. So we are in the process of renovating and building out a new space, which will triple our current space. And hopefully we don't have to go anywhere from there, because that's a lot of work, and I don't know if I'm ready for that.
I know. I love to see that though. And I mean, is it still going to be in the art district down in Miami? I know you're in Wynwood right now. Is it close to there? And what do you particularly like about that area?
So we were in Wynwood before we
Okay.
moved to this building. And now we moved to this building and about what was it?
Yeah,
8 years
8
ago?
years ago, yeah.
8 years ago. And we renamed this area Wow, which is west of Wynwood.
Okay.
Um, and then this area has taken off as well. And now we continue our westward track. And so we're moving 1 mile west, right? I
Yep.
think it's about 1 mile west. And it's off of the highway, it's closer, it's, in many ways, it's a more convenient location. Um, like we
Well,
will
just
see.
that parking for all the staff that you have. I mean, that's like kind of where you get into one of these things. So it's like you can write a book on all the things as a florist that it's growing and what they need to do or how they need to outline their business, I'm sure.
Yeah,
Figuring out garbage.
garbage, parking, water, so you ask about the new space, and it's a fun challenge for especially somebody like me and Carlos, because when we moved into this building, we built it out. So we
Yeah, it's
took
beautiful.
things we had learned from our previous location and said, what do we need? We need a good workspace with good lighting. We need sales offices. We need in and out. And so we built it, and I love the space we're in now. But now that we're moving to a new space, we spent months evaluating the things we did right and the things we did wrong, and how do we figure those things out. So Carlos says garbage. When you do 15 events on a weekend and there's 400 boxes of flowers, and none of the properties let you dispose of your garbage into their dumpster, it all comes back here. Where do you put, 8 container loads of garbage? How do you keep that separate from the things that are clean? Lighting, water, drains. There's so many little things that go into staying organized that we spent hours reviewing the plans and microanalyzing them and saying, let's make sure we have, the big trend these days are long arrangements that are 6 or 8 feet long. Well, our new property will have a special sink that's 9 feet long, so we can make arrangements that sit in and hydrate them properly.
Wow.
Right. So those are all things that we've taken from our past experience and implementing them into our new facility.
At this building, we put water overhead so that the designers have like hoses come down to their workstations and can fill their vases directly. We're gonna do that again in the next building. This time we're talking about adding an air compressor so they can blow roses and flowers open, so that designers aren't sitting there blowing their roses and rolling them, but they have a little compressor at each station. So all of these things help as well with productivity, like the more productive you
And
are,
time.
right? As we're producing on a busy weekend where we can do up to 15 weddings in a weekend.
How big are the coolers going to be? I'm sure you have massive storage for your
Yeah, so everything is triple.
Yeah.
Our office space will be triple. Our production space, we can do a wedding in our production space for 220 people with band, dance floor, and tables.
Wow.
Yeah, the cooler is almost 1,500 square feet.
Okay.
So really big.
Yeah, that's
We
amazing.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, but the process is, if anyone's ever done renovations and building, they know it's a headache, and we're dealing with it.
You're gonna write the floral like McDonald's, they kind of came up with like a formula of their perfect space so that they could move around most efficiently. And I'm waiting for that. I'm sure it will be you'll make some neat booth about how to
McDonald's share that with the world. I don't know if they
I
share,
mean,
but
I
we're
don't know.
happy to share. We're happy to sit here and talk all about all the things that go into making this successful.
Yeah.
So what does what kind of events do you guys mainly do? So your weddings, you work with planners. Is that any type of event you're working with, like mainly planners? And how many like weddings would you say you do versus like corporate events, or what does that look like from those 600 events? Like how does it break down?
Yeah, I think I would say somewhere about 60 to 70% is weddings. About 10%, 15% are kind of more social, brises, bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, and then the rest go into charity and corporate work. So we do the mayor's ball, we do we do the hospital balls, we do lots of charity events. But yeah, I'd say about 60 to 70% of it are weddings, and out of that, I would say about 80% are done together with event planners. We consider ourselves here planner promoters. We'd much rather deal with a professional, with somebody who understands reasonable requests, reasonable hours, than dealing directly with a client who might call you at midnight and say, I don't know if I should do the blush or the pink, or should I wear a white tuxedo jacket or a black tuxedo jacket? So, right. And the planners give you the ability to build those relationships. So if a client is getting married or their daughter's getting married, they're only getting married once. A planner, they'll do 20 to 30 parties a year. So you can build that relationship with them. It continues to give you business. And that's what our goal.
And I love how you, and I'm sure in your next space you'll do this as well, but you've built out spaces just so that you can offer those as meeting spaces for your partners, like your planners or your photographer partners, or I know you've even done, I think, some cake tastings in there for clients, and just to make it an easy one-stop shop for that client to come in a nice, relaxing, beautiful atmosphere with the flowers, and it's really nice.
Feels wrong sometimes where you have a client who comes in and they're spending, $100,000 on their flowers for a wedding. And we give them 2, 3 hours to sit and talk and meet. But when they're done with their planner, they'll look at each other and they say, well, we have to meet with the caterer, or we have to meet with the makeup person or the photographer. And they go, okay, let's go to Starbucks. I'm like, no, we have an office for you. You can meet all your other people here at our office. And then we have planners who we've said, and we tell them all, even if you don't hire us for your flowers for your wedding, many of the planners don't have offices. They work out of their homes. So they can come here and they feel like they have a place where it's industry related, where they feel like they can meet with clients and they can do that. And you're right, there's some cake suppliers that are up in Palm Beach that don't have offices in Miami, but they supply a lot of Miami clients. So they do their once a month, they do their tastings in our office.
Yeah.
It's a nice partnership.
Yeah, I think that's great. And that's a great learning lesson for people who are honest, like forge those relationships, make them stronger. And if you have the space, like really make it somewhere where that's like a value added, I think, for sure.
I mean, supporting the industry overall, like, Raffi talks about this all the time. The same thing goes for other florists in town. Like we want them to do great work, right? Like we want our competitors to do amazing parties in Miami. All that does is elevate the entire industry here, right? Because somebody went to that party in Miami, is like, saw it and it was amazing. They're like, oh, I want that too, or better, So we're excited to see other people here in Miami do big, beautiful events as well. And we never feel threatened by it. We feel like it's a great thing for us,
I, can you walk us through like the typical process of like conceptualizing an idea to executing, and like how long that you guys usually spend on designing those really luxury events?
Yeah, I mean, there's such a large range of this process. There are some clients that don't even come in. They just send you a mood board and said, I want this. And we punch out a proposal and send it to them. But that doesn't accurately reflect who the bride is, and her personality doesn't come out in the final product. So the more time you can spend with the client and the more time you can spend discussing her things. 20 minutes before we just had this details university, I had a client in my office and we're talking about her whole party, blah, blah. And we get to the dance floor and we talk about the wrap on the dance floor. And I said, it could be white, but it could be printed. And she goes, I don't know about print. And then I look at her, I said, but aren't you an artist? She goes, yeah, I paint, I do murals. I said, why don't you make a drawing and we will replicate that on the dance floor. And then that actual painting will hang in your house. But every time you look at it, you'll remember your dance floor. And she got a tear in her eye because that's what you're looking for. You're looking for something that when the guests walk in, it should reflect who the bride is, not us telling you what you should do. Not that pampas grass is hot, let's do it. Not that ceiling treatments with greens are popular, let's implement that. No, it should reflect your personality. If you're simple and understated, the wedding should reflect it. It should be beautiful. And my job is to not let you make a mistake. But it's not my job, and I try to teach that to my team, is when somebody comes in and says, I like pink, it's not my place to say, but pink isn't in season or pink isn't in fashion right now. Do the peach, right? So the more time you can spend and the more you can get to know that client, the more you can reflect the event in their image.
So, I mean, I'll go on and talk about process. Usually when the bride with the planner comes in, they have initial first meeting, and we hope that within that meeting, whatever couple of hours and all that stuff that just happened with Raffi happens, the sales team, we'd like to get a proposal out to them in 3 to 5 days. Sometimes, sometimes it takes 2 weeks. The bigger the event, right? So, big scale events, when we're talking $250,000, $500,000 budgets, where you're really have to source things, it takes a little longer to get things out. But typically the average event for us, you get a proposal out in a week or so. And then after that, the production team kind of communicates with front, like, what do you need? What do you need? Flower ordering is done. Well, we use details.
Yeah, you
Oh,
do.
wait, what details? Oh my
What's
God.
that? Wait, tell me
Everything is
more.
built out, right?
What is this? No.
What's great about details for us is it evens the playing field, because we do have like 5 different salespeople, right? So it evens the playing field. It's not like Raffi can price one way and Lauren can price another way and Brittany can price another way. Everybody's got to enter their formulas and their things into the program. We figure it out. Detail is going to pretty much give you a guideline where you need to be on pricing. And so, so that's great. And then after that, it comes to our side, and we get our flower orders in.
Logistics,
Right.
figuring out, will this work?
How many trucks do I need? Are we building any backdrops? Are we building this? How many other vendors are we bringing on board? Are we doing rentals, or is the planner doing rentals? All the different, is there printing? Are we printing a dance floor? Who are we sending it to? All of those things takes, throughout. Realistically, I'll give you a very honest answer. Most of that stuff happens for us within the last week. We try to, I get my flower order in 2 weeks before your event. But
Well, I feel like there's so many changing, like moving parts up until that, right until the final end of it, so it's like guest list might change by 50 or so people. I mean, that's where you really have to be able to move quickly. So
It happens all the time. Before I answer some of that, I will say we could spend 5 hours talking about the value and the implementation of details to our company. I would say,
I would love to take that class.
I'm happy to teach it. I can tell you that when we started implementing it and we spoke about it, we hadn't implemented it yet. We hadn't really started, right? Took one of the team members. I said, you will be in charge of this project. And I'm telling you, this will be the most important project our company has ever undergone. And now that we've been doing it for 2-3 years, I haven't changed my mind. It is the most important element that we have implemented into our company. So that being said, we'll do a 1 hour, 2 hour class on that as well.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, when I was doing my events, you know, I would maybe do 60, 70 weddings a year, and that was enough for me. I had a staff of 4. I didn't want to get any bigger, but I imagine once you get to a certain size and you just have to, I don't know how people are doing it without anything like details. So it's just, it boggles my mind when they're like, oh, it lives in so and so's head. And I'm like, what kind of way is that? You know, you need to have recipes. You need to know where your pricing is. Like I just can't speak about that enough.
Yeah. I used to thrive on vagueness, meaning when a client came in, I would say you would have a pink arrangement on top of a glass vase. And that was enough. And this way, if I showed up with one style glass vase because I didn't have enough of the other, the client couldn't say what. But now that our company has grown, it's the complete opposite, which is there should be not 1 inch of vagueness or not knowing what to expect. Expectations are preset, and this allows us to execute, not wonder what is expected. It's here it is, it's printed, and let's move on. So yeah,
Yeah.
I didn't want to make it all about how great details is today.
Well,
So
I didn't, but I'll take it. We'll take it every chance we get, you know. So you, as far as your orders come through, you might have 15 events going on. You do a lot of your buying through, I know one of our favorite partners is JetFresh. And can you talk about that relationship and when you started working with them and what you love most about them so we can like put it in a nice, pretty reel so we can
I'll
send
give
it to
you
them?
I'll give you the evolution of how it is we work with Jet Fresh.
Yeah, please tell me
When I,
because
when I started in business, and it goes back to what I said a little while ago about service. Um, when I started in business, I used to go to a place that also, just like Jet Fresh, they had a little place, you walk in, you take the flowers you want, you walk out, and they give you a bill and you pay for it. Well, one day I noticed that I'd walk in the morning and I'd go into the refrigerator and I'd look at the box, I'd see what I like, I'd carry it out to the loading dock. The guy would write up an invoice, and then I'd pay him and I'd carry it to my car or my truck and I'd load it up and drive away. But one day I noticed that the cute girls that were walking in were getting a salesperson jumped up and carried their flowers and brought them coffee and loaded their cars for them. And I'm like, but what about me? So I
yeah.
literally walked next door, and I walked into a place, and the gentleman there was Mr. Black, which is Mike Black's father, who's the owner of Jet Fresh, and now their whole family's involved. But he jumped up and said, "Hi, good morning. Can I help you? Can I give you a cup of coffee?" Help him load his car. Um, and that type of service still exists 30 years later, which is, oh my God, we're short 10 stems of baby's breath, and 20 minutes later, it shows up at our door. So that same attitude of we are here together, we are partners, and we consider all of our vendors together as partners. So from our rental companies that we rent tables and chairs from, to our floral suppliers, our hard goods suppliers, our Oasis, we're all in a partnership. And when one is successful, the other ones. And, when I feel like one of our vendors is taking advantage of it, it teaches me that they're not looking at our relationship as a partnership. They're only looking out for themselves.
Yeah.
And that is how we've been able to really build these great partnerships. I mean, some of the stories of, after 30 years, 15 to 20,000 events, there are some nightmare stories of things that have happened. But because of our relationships with our partners, we've been able to resolve them, whether it's something in South Carolina not being right, that it showed up, 6 hours later because there's a partner up there that we know, or a truck freezing with flowers on a Thanksgiving, and within 2 hours, all the flowers showing back up, and right. So that is what we've been able to build. But if you find the people that have the same core values of wanting to serve, you're going to surround yourself with a great team.
Yeah, well, we really love them over here, and I can't say enough about Mr. Black. He is just he has my heart and soul. And when I was talking with my team earlier, and I was like, well, I have to bring up Jet Fresh, of course, but my associate says, Jet Fresh really spoils their customers, and I have to say, I'm like, I really love that because I feel like they do, and they're constantly showing up. I've seen them bring pizza or just like thank you to different places, and it goes far beyond just the flowers that they provide week after week. They also like show up for you or different things. I saw they were at your grand opening too when you were doing your launch. So
I'll
I
tell
just
you,
love that.
I'll tell you even more special about them is
Yeah.
you would think they do it for their customers, but more than
Mhm.
that, they do it for their employees. I went
Yeah.
on a trip to Ecuador, and
Yeah.
that's a completely different population base in terms
Mhm.
of economic things. And what they do for their employees is a model for anybody, any company, anywhere, whether it's
Beautiful.
many people don't have laundry machines. They
Yeah.
built a full laundry service so their employees could come and bring their laundry there, and it gets done by a professional on site. So that the families, when they do have a day off, they don't have to spend it doing laundry. They do sex education and family planning with their employees. So just gives them education. It's incredible what they do for their people, and it's from their hearts. Like you said, it came from Mike's father to Mike, and now his kids. We work with Casey and Ryan all the time, and
Yeah.
it's really beautiful to be able to work with people like that.
Well,
Yeah,
and
I just
I love that
say,
you
I'm
set the
sorry.
example. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I just want to say that, I mean, I know that people watching this are wanting to get an education. It's not easy for everybody in the market to have the kind of relationship that we have with Jet Fresh. We are in Miami. All the flowers in the world come through our port. This is where flowers are coming in. It's a much harder thing to have these relationships with wholesalers in other places in the country, but still find a wholesaler or find a buyer, for yourself that shares your values and really invest in that person, like, and invest your time and grow with them. Because I mean, for us, that the growth with Jet Fresh, I've seen how they've changed to adapt to us as we've grown and demanded more and more and different types of products. They bring me to their shows now as well, so I can meet people from different farms because there's things that I'm interested in having that maybe they weren't carrying. But that relationship, that growth together, has really made us both so much better. Yeah, and I understand. I know that what we have, we do not buy from another buyer, right? Like it is a very, very rare thing in this industry for anybody to have the kind of relationship that we have with Jeff Fresh. Um, and I recognize that, and I'm really privileged to have it. Um, but I still think that the tenets of that can still be made by the people by like really invest in your vendors and your people that are with you. If they make them a part of your team, so your team grows together.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like they're really looking out for you too, because when it comes down to it, like you take care of the people who also take care of you, right? And it's like you want to keep that growth happening. And I love that they're doing that with their employees. They're really setting the example for how you do things right or how you build culture. So I feel like I take things from Petals that I've seen you guys do and we adopt it here. I also see what Jet Fresh is doing. And I feel like if we can create these like great opportunities for their people that are working for us or helping us build these dreams bigger, I feel like what better things to do it all together. It's like I think it's just a really great thing. Yes. And I love that you went to their farm. I want to go. I haven't been there yet, but they have the most.
Invite, you go get an invite. They'll take you.
I know someone there. You want to put in a good
We'll make
word?
a call.
Yeah, I feel like we need to do a field trip or something. We need to do a big details flowers field trip to Jet Fresh and do something there. Um, so can you talk about other technologies that you guys might use in your business besides details? Or is there anything internally that you guys are using when it comes to like communication?
Well, we've tried certain things work, certain things don't.
Yeah.
We do use an external CRM in terms of scheduling and times and events to keep track of where they all are that we have found worked for us. There's many of them out there. The one we use is called Daylight, but there's a million of them. There's truck tracking on trucks. So we're constantly looking at new technology. We have 100 employees in terms of punching in and clocks and management of labor times. We've just implemented a new system where they can do it on their phones, and it's geotagged in locations to keep track of employees when they come and where they go. We just bought new refrigerated trucks to make sure our product arrives in better condition to locations. And we've tried Slack. I think that didn't work for us. We're constantly looking at new things that come out, and some things are working, some things aren't. I'm trying to go paperless, so I have no notepads on my desk. I use a digital note-taking pad where everything is always available to me in the cloud, so I'm never too far away from notes that I've taken.
I know you should see Rafi's big book of notes he has for us at Details for all the things we need to do.
I have it on my desk, and every
I,
time something comes up, I make sure that but you know what? It's the same attitude, which is if you can make our lives better, it'll make yours better as well. We grew together. I know that you were
yeah.
relatively new, and um, we we started doing things that, hey, this could be done better. And if it's good for us, it'll be good for other people. So
Yeah.
yeah, we're
Well, I appreciate the list. I'm a very type A kind of person. I love a good list, and I love to check things off and get it done. But we've got a long list of things and we're not going anywhere. So we'll get them all done eventually.
no, by the way, if you get all the things that are on my list done, there'll be a new one by the time you get it done.
Yeah.
I know. And
I'm
my list can
constantly at
match
it.
that.
There's always, you talk about team building,
Mhm.
and there are people here that have been with the company for 30 years. I have a florist who's been with me for 30 years. There are delivery people that have been here for 20, 25 years. We definitely build our team. So when I say a weak link, doesn't always mean it's a broken link, but there's always, once you solve one problem, there's something right behind it that could be done better. And if we rest on our laurels, we won't grow. So we're
Yeah.
constantly saying, hey, this is great, but how can we do this better? How can we be more efficient? How can we put to use our 30 years of experience to make us better, faster, better design? So we bring in once every week or once every 2 weeks, somebody to talk to our team. We did a iconography class, meaning at every event, we tell our teams to take pictures of things that we've done, either for a record of what we've done, or to see how we could do things better, or just to say how pretty it was. And I said, if we're already taking a picture, why don't we get it to be a good picture? So we brought somebody in to teach our team how to take good pictures on an iPhone.
Mm.
Bring in our vendors, we bring in insurance people, whether it's health insurances or life insurances, or so we're constantly trying to implement new things for our team and make us better.
I think that Raffi and I are often looking for the weakest link, right? So, because the only way to actually grow is to make sure that that weakest link is always fixed, right? And so if you can fix that link, then this link can grow. But if you have a weak link and you're growing too much in this direction, it'll break. So we're always looking to fix the weakest link. And that doesn't mean anything is wrong or bad. It's just like, all right, just like, all right, now I built a production team that can handle, 600 weddings, but our sales team is only selling 500. So we need to hire another salespeople in so we can, because they can't handle the number of proposals that we have going out. And then all of a sudden the dynamic changes and, oh my God, I need more drivers, or I need this. And so there's always a weak link as you're trying to build your structure. And you should always be addressing that weak link.
I'll give you an example that we spoke about Monday morning, which was, I went to some events this weekend and I came back to Carlos and I said, we need to be better at packing our finished product, transporting from the office to the events, meaning things are getting damaged in terms of floral going. And he goes, well, this and that. And you know what our solution was? It's our racks. The racks that we put our flowers on are too
Mhm.
narrow. Our centerpieces are bigger, so it overhangs the edge of the racks. Get wider racks, they'll be better protected. So,
Yeah,
right, our racks were fine, but we could do better. And
right.
that is what we are constantly looking at on how to improve every aspect.
Right.
No, I think that's great. And it's nice that you can kind of have a critical eye and know those things and the great way that you might need to say it to make those changes. But like those small investments make a big change in the overall like execution of things. So I think that's great advice. Any advice that you want to give to maybe newer event florists that are getting started and want to build a bigger business? Is it just take your time or
Well, the
do something that scares you just to jump in? Like,
first thing is really decide if that's what you want. Meaning there are many people that we know in this industry that actually don't want it.
mm.
They love doing those 30 to 40 events a year instead
Mm.
of 50 to 60 a month. Uh, right? So it's a big commitment.
I
It's
don't wish
a
this on anybody.
right, because he wants it all for himself. No.
Mm.
Right. So that's the first thing is really say, is this where I want to go with it?
Yeah.
And then it's just building. We didn't start by doing 50 a month. We started by doing one a month, and then from that to two. And at some point, you'll reach a stage and say, do I want more? And when you reach that stage saying, I want more, then you have to do what we just discussed is evaluate what do you need to do to be able to handle more? Do I need more trucks? Do I need a bigger production facility? Do I need more freelance florists? Do I, whatever it is that is standing in your way of growing? And that's why we're moving to a new facility. We knew that our physical space limited our growth. So, some people came to me and said, well, you're a little older. Why do you want to grow? And I'm like, we have more to give to the industry. So if we're going to grow, this is how we're going to do it. So you have to decide if you want to do it. And then every piece of it has to be evaluated to see if it could support that wish of yours.
So I'll say
Do
something a
you?
little, can I say something just a little more controversial to a certain extent? Like, it doesn't matter how good a florist you are. It really doesn't matter how good of a designer you think you are, Like, there's very few of us that are, forefront in the industry, right? So much of us are doing so much of the same work. Most important thing is sweep up after yourself at a hotel. Make sure that hotel wants you to come back. Make sure that
Mm.
that hotel loves your team because that will get you everywhere. Make sure your planners think that you're going to save them, help them, right? Like, don't say, oh, I don't do that. Never on a job site say, no, we don't do that. You're there to serve that planner. You're there to serve that hotel. You do it, you do it with a pleasure. You make sure it gets done, and I don't care how good your flower. I mean, your flowers have to be good. Our flowers are good, but overall, there's probably people just as talented as you. But it's that thing that is going
Service.
to make people feel like I want to work with you. I
Yeah.
want people here. I feel good when they're here. I'm secure when they're here. Right. That's the biggest thing. I think I see other floors be like, oh yeah, but I don't do that. Like, I'm like, what do you mean you didn't move a chair? Right? Like, the planner has an issue and she needs the chairs moved from outside to inside. You better get on, start moving chairs, and then that planner's always going to think about you and be like, you know what? They got my back. Like,
Yeah.
that's build your business more than
Yeah.
any floral design that you're going to create.
I think that's very wise words, and I completely agree. And I love that that's the way you guys approach every situation. It's like it's not done until like everything is tip top perfect. It doesn't matter if it was something you were doing. It's just a part of the whole event experience. You want that customer just to have a
Goes,
flaw.
it goes back to what Carlos said a few minutes ago, which is when an event is successful and everybody leaves happy, it's good for the
Mhm.
industry. So if the party's great, but they go to valet and it takes 45 minutes to get their car from valet and they're standing out there cursing, it's a fail, right?
Hmm.
All has to be great. We want all the experience great. So if we can be part of that, it's a win.
How do you what do you do when you wrap up an event? Do you do like a nice thank you? Do you send a bottle of champagne to your clients? Do you do something special for the
No,
planner?
we drink the champagne.
Okay, good. As you should.
Client, right? We sit here and drink the champagne and say, wow, that was great.
Yeah. Do you ever get a tip?
Sometimes, we don't ask
Pretty
for it.
rare.
We don't put it into our proposals. I know some people do. My feeling is always, if you think you should be paid more, you should just charge more. Um, it's appreciated. It's never said no to. Our team works really hard. And when
Mhm.
they're shown that, we try to be generous with our team, but when they see it from a client, it's a different level and it's a different experience for them. So they're super appreciative of it. So
Right.
tips are nice, but
We don't, and sometimes, I mean, Rafi and I are far enough removed from some of it sometimes. We have really incredible team leads who are on these job sites, who most of the planners and the hotels and the management catering staff of these hotels all know who these guys are. I know that those guys sometimes come to me and be like, oh, such and such planner gave me a tip. And I'm like, great, great. I'm happy that they recognize that these guys often go above and beyond. And if they get a tip from on a job site, that's great. It's not anything that Rafi and I are ever looking for ourselves or,
Yeah. I just thought it was like an interesting question because I wasn't sure on like a luxury event if people are just so thankful they're like coming out with like a wad of money and like saying thank you and sticking it
it's
in your pocket.
it's happened. It
yes, it
happens.
does.
Um, but especially because we're
I
at the
would be at
level
more
we're
job
at.
sites.
Yeah. Well, we're about at the end of our hour, and I have a fun little round of rapid fire questions. I don't know if we've been having fun with this. We're going to splice it all together, but are you guys ready to play?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. What is your favorite word in another language?
Kremzel.
What does that mean?
Mantequilla,
What?
mantequilla, butter.
Oh,
And I like either sei gesund.
That's actually Brittany's favorite word in Spanish, and she says it all the time, so it's what pops in my head.
okay. I'll go with it. What is your drink of choice?
Grape juice.
Paloma.
I thought you were going to say tequila.
Tequila. Paloma is a tequila with grapefruit juice. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. What is your favorite flower?
Vanda orchid.
Mm.
I'm a Protea guy. I like a big Arctic ice or King Protea from South Africa. Yeah.
I love it. Um, as far as seasons, summer, winter, spring, or fall?
April showers bring May flowers. Your
You're a spring
choices are endless in May, so I would take May all day.
It's hot already in May. May is like summer here, and so December for me, like winter, South Florida winter. It's wonderful.
morning or evening?
Morning.
4 a.m., baby. Let's get
Yeah,
the
oh
day
my God.
started.
We both are.
You gotta get more rest, Rafi. Come on now.
Are you telling me I have bags under my eyes?
No,
I'm
I'm not saying that at
kidding.
all.
I'm kidding.
Are you more of a thinker or a doer?
I
Think or
can
do?
only do if I think it through first.
Me too.
Meaning I can envision it and then I can do it. Like I've never, I don't know, like for water skiing, if I could envision it, I can do it.
Huh?
Same thing. And when that first client asked me to do their wedding, I closed my eyes, I built the chuppah, I did the centerpieces, I did all the logistics in my head, and I said, I can do it. And then I did it.
We're both thinkers. We think things through and then we do, but
I know.
we think.
Yeah.
I can picture Carlos now in thinking man pose amongst a bunch of flowers in his birthday suit. It's just what I'm
Would you
feeling.
like to see it? We have one of those or
If anybody
two.
wants to follow Carlos, you can do that online. Place you most want to travel.
Carlos, you go.
I want to go to Tokyo.
Oh,
I want to go to, yeah, I'm looking for Japan in cherry blossom season.
Mhm.
But really, the place that I really want to go to, I go, which is Colorado. I like to ski, I like to hike, so I do that summer and winter. So yeah, I'm good
So
with that.
there's surfer ski for Raffi.
I just think the flowers and the flower scene in Tokyo, and I've gone through different flower scenes that I've been obsessed with Aussies or that, but right now, like the kind of weird stuff that's happening in Tokyo, I'm really fascinated by it. Yeah,
Yeah,
love it.
gorgeous trees. What's for dinner tonight? What's on the menu?
Uh, uni, pizza, homemade.
Okay.
I'm on a low fat meal plan, so I don't even know. It gets delivered to my house every day and I heat it up. But when I'm in season, when we're in season and we are working so much, I do a meal plan just so I don't have to think and I could, and then in the summer, soon I get off of it and then I cook. But for now, I don't want to,
It's like that, the Zuckerberg or Steve Jobs thing, which is why leave too many things to make choices with? We're so busy during the day. That's why, he wore a black mock neck or a Bruno Cucinelli t-shirt every day, because deciding takes up some brain power. We focus our heads on other things.
I know. I just need a charcuterie board and I'm good to go. That's it. No. What's your go-to karaoke song?
If I sang, it would clear out the bar.
Oh
Oh, come on.
my God, I don't even know.
No?
Yeah,
Nothing?
I've never karaokeed in my life, and
Me
I don't,
either.
yeah.
That's good. That's a good sound bite. What is your hidden talent?
Not singing. No. I paint and I don't let anybody see it.
I've
Your
seen
board you made behind you, didn't you do that artwork?
That's not painting, right? Yeah, that I don't mind. Sure, here. I made
Yeah,
that.
that's
But
awesome. I love
yeah, I like to paint. I'm not talented, so that's why I hide it. But
I like
yeah.
to think of myself as an athlete, even though the older I get, the less I am. But I work out a lot.
Okay.
What's your hidden talent?
CrossFit. I
I
can
have
handle.
double pointed thumbs. There, there. They're kind of weird. Is that not a talent? I don't know.
I
I
can walk and hold handstands. That's
I know. I since I broke my wrist, I can't do that anymore. But yeah. I can do the splits. I guess that's a hit.
Oh, that's,
What is your favorite dance move? And you can show us if you want.
go ahead, Carlos.
no.
My kids make fun of my dancing. Yeah. No, that's not it.
I
Yeah.
think I
The
just do
shopping cart?
bite the lip. You know,
I like this one. Okay. And if you could have a superpower, if you could have any superpower, what would it be?
More creative.
forever young.
I love it. Right. Well, thank you guys. If you have any further questions for Raffi and Carlos, how can they reach you? Or should they not?
Email, yeah, no,
You're
that's the
busy.
opposite. We are happy to answer. We've hosted, we've entertained, we've shared our experiences and our ideas with anybody who would like it. You can either call the office at Petal Productions 305-571-5153, or you can email either Raffi, R-A-F-F-I, or Carlos at petalproductions.com, and we're happy to respond or come visit. Just pop in.
I mean, if I am pretty responsive to my direct messages on Instagram.
Oh, how does
Yeah,
that work?
I know you don't know.
Oh.
I'll say this. I am in an Instagram group that is like 40 florists in Miami. And everybody helping each other, answering questions, hey, can I borrow this? I need this for an event. And and I'm pretty active on there, try to give them as much advice as I can and help, and I definitely have helped them with events. So I'm pretty active on my Instagram, and if you have any questions or you want to know anything else, I'm more than happy to answer questions.
We've also hosted and let other floors from other places actually spend time here and watch our process, learn how we stay organized, how we divide and conquer each event, so they can bring some of that experience back to their company wherever they are. So we're happy to have anybody that's interested to come and hang out and, be part of great experience.
Well, I especially think that's valuable to anyone that's wanting to grow, and just to be like, just to visualize or see what it could be. And it might not be exactly like yours, but it just kind of opens your eyes to say, oh my gosh, what would I do with 100 carnival horses? I would hang them from the ceiling. Or, all the other things. Do you guys ever have like a garage sale, like a massive garage sale to sell some of the inventory you have? Because you have more candelabras and unique vases that you cannot possibly use them all. Or do you?
Well, I mean, so the beauty of having so many different salespeople is that they each have their own different style or what they want to use. And so, and then Raffi, he will like, hey, I did this event in 1987 and I bought these candelabras and I want to use them again. And I'll have to like figure out where they are in the warehouse. And he's right. And we still have them somewhere, and we use them. And so, I am very inclined on this move to probably do some sort of like flash sale and get rid of some stuff, we'll see how it goes. But
That's
I'm,
going to be Met
yeah.
Gala of all the eclectic things that Petal Productions has from times before. So I love it. All right. Well, thank you guys. We are going to get this up on our blog and also share it with our audience. Thank you for being our May Details University Masterclass. And we love you guys. So I'm sure I'll be seeing you soon in Miami, if not before. And
Looking forward.
yeah, thank you guys. It was
In
a pleasure.
regards to your husband.
Oh yes, Florida man. He was wishing me well. I always get so nervous about this. I said they're old friends, but yeah,
It's so familiar. We do this all,
Yeah.
right?
I know. Well,
It's
thank
just
you guys.
nice. It's nice to have people be able to listen to our conversation.
Yeah, I'm sure they're gonna pull some gems from this, and we'll share it on our reels and things. And we're gonna do an end of the year wrap up too, where we're gonna be splicing it all together. We've got some tricks up our sleeve, so
Good, good. Well, we look forward to seeing your tricks.
okay, good. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, bye guys. Have a nice day.